now on the CTV News at 5. A call to report encampments in the River Valley over fire fears. Plus, the next step of the federal government's national gun buyback program rolls out. And if you're feeling a little down and out today, chances are you're not alone. It's Blue Monday.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Near misses and several preventable deaths in Alberta hospitals over recent weeks have sparked concern among doctors growing frustrated by a bogged down healthcare system. Ever since an Edmonton man died waiting for care in hospital before Christmas, emergency room doctors across Alberta have been highlighting several similar cases, including 6 other deaths. CTV News obtained a document highlighting several severe cases where patient care was neither administered nor neglected. Between December 22nd and January 12th, a man in his 50s went to the ER with a fever, sore throat, and reports of intermittent confusion. He waited 8 hours before leaving after receiving no care. A couple of hours later, EMS brought him back to hospital. He had strep bacteria. Eventually, he suffered multi-organ failure and died. One woman died from long wait times for delayed diagnosis of a bowel obstruction. Others suffered heart attacks in hallways. And there's record of one sudden death in a waiting room. The province's influenza season has impacted space, and that the crisis has passed.
Influenza was a 1,000-pound back, 1,000-pound weight that landed on the broken camel's back. The system was already struggling. It's been struggling since all year. 2025, we've had record overcrowding, record overcapacity all year. We warned that coming into the respiratory season, every fall, winter, we have this. We know our system must have surge capacity to be able to actually take care of this.
Hospitals are operating at 102% capacity. The province wants that number to be around 85 to 90%. ER physicians say this is an annual problem that has failed to be addressed. Lethbridge police are releasing a composite sketch of a suspect in connection to a sexual assault, and they're asking anyone who recognizes the man to come forward. Last August, a 30-year-old victim told police she got into the vehicle of an unknown male, was in the downtown area, where she was confined inside, then driven to Henderson Lake where she was sexually assaulted. The suspect is described as dark-skinned, approximately 25 years old, 5'11", with a thin build, short hairstyle, small goatee and freckles. The vehicle is an older model, dark gray, green or black, 4-door Ford truck with tinted windows. Anyone who recognizes the suspect or has information that could help is urged to contact police or Crime Stoppers. An update from police, 24-year-old Ashanti Weasel Moccasin, who was last seen on January the 12th, has been found safe. Police thank the public for their help. Now, the city of Lethbridge is once again asking residents to report any encampments they may see in the river bottom to authorities. 2 recent grass fires last week are believed to be caused by encampments or activities related to encampments. As a result, the city is asking anyone in the river bottom that may come across an encampment or unsafe materials to call 311 so crews can clean it up. While the number of encampments in the River Valley has decreased, the dry conditions and the high fire risk, well, that's made the situation extreme. Encampments in the River Valley can also bring added danger.
Many times we see people who choose to stay long-term in encampments, it's because they're involved in a level of criminality, and that can be drug trafficking, human trafficking, taking stolen property for trade for drugs, they just don't want the attention that comes from being around the shelter area, so they'll go off into the River Valley.
We've seen a reduction in encampments in the river bottom. However, they do happen, and due to them being harder to get to, they can become entrenched if not reported.
Well, temperatures later this week will drop below freezing. The fire department says that isn't enough to bring down the current fire risk, and a large amount of moisture is needed. Until then, a fire ban will remain in effect for the River Valley. All right, Danielle Savoni, we were just talking about some cooler weather's coming.
Yeah, it is. We're looking at a decent cool down. In many cases, we're going to be in the minus double digits in the coming days. So I'll talk more about that in the longer range forecast in just a little bit. But enjoy this while we have it. The warmer air, 6 degrees right now in Lethbridge and Milk River, just below freezing at -3 in Medicine Hat and 4 in Pincher Creek. And the winds are relatively calm, 35 kilometers per hour. That was the max gust that's been registered registering in Lethbridge, 28 for Medicine Hat, and 46 for Pincher Creek. Now, keep in mind the winds will pick up for tomorrow. In fact, there is a wind warning in place for areas around Drumheller, 90 km/h gusts tonight. All right, we'll talk more about the wind and the cooler temperatures in just a little bit, Jackie.
All right, thanks, Danielle. Well, today is Blue Monday, which is considered by some to be the most depressing day of the year. But experts say there are several different ways to deal with the stress this time of year brings. Quinn Keenan has that story.
The third Monday in January is dubbed Blue Monday. It's considered the most depressing day because of post-holiday financial stress, distance from Christmas, and typically bad winter weather. The claim is disputed, but those factors can add up.
The stats don't necessarily back up Blue Monday, but we don't want to undermine anybody from reaching out if they're feeling more isolated, more alone, more struggles with their mental well-being at this time of year.
Canadian Mental Health Association Lethbridge says it sees a fairly consistent number of people reaching out throughout the year. They encourage anyone who is struggling to look for help, no matter the time of year.
No matter where we're at in our mental health journey, we all have those different pressure points that we need to take care of throughout everything. And having those conversations about it, taking that dedicated time to process what it is that we're feeling and what it is that we're going through.
Financial worries will be top of mind for many this time of year. Many people will be looking at ways to cut back following Christmas shopping. One of the best ways to do that is developing a budget and sticking to it.
The big thing is actually sitting down and budgeting, coming up with a financial plan for you and your family, you and your spouse. Being able to really recognize, okay, here's what our debt situation is post-holidays. What are we going to do? Let's sit down and budget.
The most important part of budgeting is figuring out what expenses you can scale back on or cut out entirely. That can help you build up some extra money to pay down debt.
We obviously can't stop spending, right? A budget can't realistically have zero in the expenses column, and so that's why budgeting and really managing your money is important, to recognize, okay, here's what we do have to spend money on, here's where the money's coming in, that income to help cover it, and maybe make some adjustments. Okay, what expenses can we cut or decrease?
Quinn Keenan, CTV News, Lethbridge.
For mental health support, you can reach the Canadian Mental Health Association in Lethbridge at 403-329-4775. Now, on a brighter note, a local group of firefighters are hoping to brighten the day of children staying at the Ronald McDonald House in Calgary. Members of the Lethbridge Firefighters Charities Association donated more than $2,000 worth of toys and welcoming packages to the house. As Carson Marsouk reports, the cause has a close tie to one of the firefighters leading the way.
It was in 2021 when the Olsen family spent a month at the Ronald McDonald House in Calgary, while their youngest daughter received care at the Alberta Children's Hospital.
One parent was always in the hospital, the other parent was at Ronald McDonald House with our oldest daughter, and Ronald McDonald House is very near and dear to us. They provided everything that was normalcy for us.
Being from southern Alberta, the family was taken in by the Ronald McDonald House and provided care for the time being. Once discharged, Blake and his wife made it their mission to give back.
We know that there's quite literally thousands of families who have stayed at Ronald McDonald House from the Lethbridge area during their tenancy at Calgary. This is just a very small part that we'd like to do to give back.
And that included raising $2,000 with the help of the Lethbridge Firefighters Charities Association to purchase toys to donate to children in need.
We do initiatives throughout the year and try and raise money for projects such as this, just to be able to give back to local community members and families in need.
Through a range of events, the association raises about $20,000 a year to be distributed back to different causes.
I think it's really special, the work that our folks do within the community as far as emergency services, but to be able to really connect that and tie that back into charity and to be able to give back in a different way, it is truly special and rewarding.
For the Olsen family, the truckload of donations is their way of saying thank you to those that helped their family when their daughter became sick.
So she's good. She will have long-term health effects for the rest of her life. She will likely need transplants, etc. But right now she's perfect. She's absolutely perfect. Wouldn't change anything.
Carson Marsouk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
It was a busy weekend for a group of Albertans trying to force a referendum on separating from Canada. Stay Free Alberta, the group heading the petition, hosted several events across the province.
Alberta needs to be strong and free from the shackles of the Liberal government. We are tired. We don't matter in this relationship, and it has to stop. I think we've had enough.
They need 177,732 signatures by May 2nd in order to trigger a referendum vote. Meantime, another petition is nearing its deadline, this one aiming to oust Education Minister Dimitrios Nicolaides. Organizers have until Wednesday to gather over 16,000 signatures, but admit they won't reach that target. This is one of 26 recall petitions currently underway. All but 2 target UCP MLAs. Well, today marks the official start of the federal government's new firearm buyback program.
Anyone who has a possession and acquisition license will be receiving either an email or letter from the National Firearms Center. It will have instructions on how you can find out if you have a prohibited firearm that is eligible for compensation and how to go about obtaining it.
Since May 2020, Ottawa has outlawed about 2,500 types of guns, including the AR-15, saying they belong only on the battlefield. Valid license holders choose not to participate in the buyback program must dispose of or permanently deactivate their banned firearms and devices before an amnesty period ends on October 30th. Alberta is one of several provinces saying they will not take part. The federal public safety minister hopes a compromise can be reached, but everyone will be expected to comply with the law. The City of Lethbridge is exploring the idea of creating a north to south corridor for cyclists. As part of a functional planning and design study for active transportation, the city is looking at the corridor from 26th Avenue North south to the Sugar Bowl. The city's 2017 cycling master plan identifies 18th Street as a future bike boulevard and looks at ways to make the street safer and more comfortable for cyclists. To gather feedback, the city will be hosting 4 rounds of public engagement, including at its community conversation next week. More information on the project, well, that can be found on the city's website. On the other side of this break, Danielle is back with your 5-day forecast. Plus, we'll tell you how a new hospital dashboard will hopefully give Albertans a better idea of surgery and screening wait times.
All right, here's your sky cam. This is from about an hour ago facing northwest. It's a really lovely day. Why is it lovely? Well, the sun's been out, the winds are relatively calm, and the temperatures are very mild for this time of year. Check out temperatures right now. We're sitting at 5 in Lethbridge and Milk River, -3 in Medicine Hat, 2 in Pincher Creek. And checking out the winds, these are the max gusts today. We talked about this a little earlier. Fairly calm in Pincher Creek in those 40s, in the 30s for Lethbridge, and just about 28 in the Medicine Hat area. So calm winds today. That will not be the story tomorrow. The winds are going to pick up tomorrow. We're looking at more cloud cover in many communities for tomorrow, and we're also looking at the cooling trend beginning. All right, so wind warning in place. I don't know why that says 100 there, but wind warning in place, and this is really for areas to the north of us. Drumheller, Irricana over to Cereal. These areas, 90 km/h gusts are certainly likely for tonight. And this is a look at the gusts expected for tomorrow. So tomorrow in Medicine Hat, Lethbridge around that 70 km/h mark, 30 for Pincher Creek. Pincher Creek should be predominantly out of the west, but Lethbridge over to Medicine Hat out of the northwest. It's a chillier wind, and that's going to start the cool down for us. Out of the north for Brooks and Drumheller, and again for Drumheller in the morning hours, we could still have those 90 km/h gusts there. And then it will start to calm down in the afternoon. But yes, a windy day in the far south for sure. And you will, in some communities, see a few flurries here and there. Nothing significant, but when you combine it with the windy conditions, and we do get some flurries, well, that could reduce visibility a little bit as well. Timeline for this, as you can see, 4 a.m. So in the overnight hours. So basically tonight and through really early tomorrow mornings, and we're likely to see the flurries in the far south. So if you get up early, you may run into a few. And then it clears out for much of the day, so you should see some sunshine out there. And then a little pocket of flurries back for the Medicine Hat area and in through the Pitcher Creek, Crow's Nest Pass area on Tuesday night once again. All right, East Kootenay area, -7 tonight, -5 is the high for tomorrow. So there's a decent cool down, mainly cloudy skies for tomorrow. Crow's Nest Pass -5 tonight, certainly some flurries possible up and through early tomorrow morning, and then it will start to clear out. You're looking at a high of +1 for tomorrow. -9 overnight in Medicine Hat, and high of -2 for tomorrow, and certainly a few flurries possible. Again, most of that really overnight tonight and through early tomorrow morning. And we're not looking at any significant amounts, but we are looking at enough when combined with the winds to reduce visibility in some isolated spots at times. All right, for Lethbridge, +1 tomorrow, and that's about it for the warming trend. This is a long go on this warming trend, and we broke records. We had record-breaking heat last week. Flurries possible until about 5 o'clock in the morning, and then it starts to clear out. We're looking at mainly sunny skies, and then look at that, -2 is our high for Wednesday, minus double digits for Thursday, and minus teens for Friday.
The Alberta government has launched an online dashboard to share information about surgery wait times and certain screenings. The province says it will give people more information on healthcare. It will eventually expand to include primary healthcare data and information on assisted living, addictions, and mental health. The dashboard was one of the measures the provincial government said it would be coming in to help improve the system. An emergency room physician has called for the province to declare a state of emergency to deal with system pressures. While the province says that won't happen, Dr. Paul Parks was pleased to hear they're aware of the problems.
Acknowledge that this was, we weren't crying wolf, that it really is difficult and it is really hard to give safe and timely care. So we need to do all the short-term mitigating strategies that we've done in the past that will work. And we have to show Albertans, they're accountable.
Dr. Park says he's glad the government is working on a long-term plan for Albertans' health care, but the short-term relief still needs to be proven. A recent study warns that financial stress could be just as harmful for the heart as more traditional risk factors. Researchers looked at data on more than 280,000 adults in the U.S. between 2018 and 2023. They found people who reported higher levels of financial stress and food insecurity usually had a more advanced cardiovascular age than would be otherwise expected. Now, that's a measure of how old a person's heart and blood vessels look relative to their actual age. The authors say the findings reinforce the importance of considering non-medical factors that may play a role in health matters. The findings were published in Mayo Clinic proceedings. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, we'll update you on the Hurricanes and Tigers action after this break. Welcome back. The Lethbridge Hurricanes and Medicine Hat Tigers came into the weekend on two different trajectories. Lethbridge was looking to snap their losing skid. The Tigers tried to extend their franchise best winning streak. The Canes got off to a tough start Friday night at home. The Prince Albert Raiders scored twice in the opening frame to take a 2-0 lead. That score would stand until early in the third when newly acquired Kyle Hager found the back of the net to give Lethbridge life. That momentum, though, would be short-lived as Raider Brendan Gorzinski would score shortly after to reestablish the 2-goal lead. Now this one finishes as a 3-1 loss for the Canes. Saturday on the road in Red Deer, that game was one to forget for Lethbridge. Red Deer's Beck Hamilton got things started on a shorthanded breakaway to open the scoring. Tyson Yermerko and Calder Varga would both find the back of the net in the second to put this one out of reach early. Lethbridge was outshot 44-14 in a 5-0 loss. The Canes have now lost 7 in a row. The Tigers, they opened up their weekend at home against the Edmonton Oil Kings. Medicine Hat opened this one with a bang with 3 goals in the first 15 minutes. Edmonton's Andrew O'Neill then scored late in the period to make it 3-1. But that did not turn the tide as the Tigers responded with 3 more unanswered goals to start the second. This ended up a 7-3 Tigers win. Saturday against the Prince Albert Raiders, that was a wild back and forth affair. Late in the second, Prince Albert had jumped out to a 4-1 lead, but the Tigers would chip away and manage to tie things up midway through the third. After Prince Albert retook the lead, Luke Cousins managed to tie the game at 5. But not long after, PA's Max Heisey would score to give the Raiders a late lead. The Raiders would add a couple of empty netters. The Tigers' 19-game winning streak is snapped with an 8-5 loss to PA. U of L Pronghorns and Lethbridge Polytechnic Kodiaks, they had plenty of action this weekend. Pronghorns women's basketball lost in a blowout Friday to the Saskatchewan Huskies, 100-52. The men's team kept it close but fell 80 to 75. Saturday was better for the women, but they still lost 79-59. The men came out just short, again losing 81-77. Kodiak's basketball had a home-and-home series with the Ambrose University Lions. Friday, on the road, the women picked up an 78-76 win. The men struggled in a 100-88 loss. The next night at home, the women's team got the weekend sweep in a 67-51 win. The men's team also managed a 103-80 win. Volleyball also had a home-and-home with the Lions this weekend. Friday at home, the women's team lost in a 3-set sweep. The men didn't fare much better as they lost 3-1. Saturday, the women lost again in a sweep, but the men would salvage their weekend with a 3-2 win. Futsal also kicked off their season this weekend. The women's team fell to the Medicine Hat College Rattlers 3-2, and the men followed that up with another 3-2 loss to the Rattlers. Alberta bars can now apply to serve alcohol at special hours during the Winter Olympics, but Alberta's Liquor Commission says certain rules around that must be followed. The event must be a medal round, the bar can't be open for a full 24 hours, and a food menu must be available. The Milano Cortino Games begin on February the 6th. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5. Thousands were in Banff this weekend to enjoy skijoring. That story next. Skijoring was back in Banff this weekend, drawing thousands of people to the area. The town is happy to welcome in the spectators because of the support they give to businesses during a quieter time. Tyler Barrow reports.
Flips, fashion, and fun. Skijoring was back in Banff this weekend. Over 8,000 people are expected to attend each day, meaning spots to view the dynamic winter sport were at a premium. People coming from across the country for the party.
This is pretty cool. There's no reason to wear this getup unless you're here. Like, this is awesome.
This soon-to-be bride chose the event for her bachelorette party.
Everybody on the vibes, cowboy boots, cowboys, horses, cowgirls. That's it. It's perfect.
This is the 4th consecutive year Banff has hosted Skijoring, or the greatest show on snow in the heart of its downtown. And it's the highlight of the Snow Days Festival.
We put on events in winter to give people a reason to come out to the mountains at this time of year.
The boost in foot traffic appreciated by local businesses.
Helps bring the people in and keep us busy when, not everyone's here.
Banff and Lake Louise Tourism says hotels are booked solid.
Skijor Canada is set to come to Calgary February 21st and 22nd, where riders will look to get some big air at the Confluence Historic Site in Parkland. Demand for tickets is already high. Tyler Barrow, CTV News, Banff.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. Stay with us now for this early edition of the CTV National News.